When I told my parents I was engaged, they sounded thrilled, but their excitement quickly turned into a shocking demand. Have a secret wedding so your sister won't get upset. That's when I realized I'd spent my entire life living in her shadow, and I wasn't going to do it anymore. When I told my parents last week that I was engaged to my longtime boyfriend Jonathan, they sounded thrilled and congratulated me, but I had a feeling something wasn't right, so I didn't give it much thought. They called yesterday to say they'd be able to have a secret wedding, so I wouldn't hurt my selfish sister, so I refused and broke off contact with them. I couldn't believe what they were asking me to do until they explained the reasoning. My younger sister, Kelly, 24, is a brat. I know people say this about their sisters when they're younger, but we're both adults, and she's still a spoiled brat. We hadn't spoken in 3 years. They also demanded that I marry in secret and keep the news from everyone. I finally cut her off when she got drunk and made a scene in front of all my friends on my 25th birthday. I couldn't invite her, but my parents convinced me that it was easier to give in than to argue with them. She yelled at me about how I was a loser and would always be the center of attention. I couldn't stand it for even a moment, and my parents did nothing to stop her attention-seeking behavior. And how I would never be able to compare to her. She did this in front of all of my friends, and if they hadn't stepped in, she would have thrown her drink in my face. That was our last conversation before I blocked her on all of my social media accounts and stopped talking to her. My parents weren't pleased, but I couldn't stand it any longer. I had spent my entire childhood trying to get attention from people, but Kelly avoided that. I had already left my parents' house and was done living under her shadow, so I was able to cut her off. That was the last time I heard from her. Last year, my parents tried to get me to go to her wedding, but I wasn't interested at all. I'm glad I didn't go because the man she was marrying was my high school sweetheart, who broke up with me the night before prom after Kelly asked him out. She appeared to be totally innocent, but I knew the truth and sobbed for hours about it. Kelly didn't like me, but that was her. She recently got a divorce from her husband after he had an affair with his secretary for about 3 months. At this point, everything is kept under wraps, but eventually, people will discover that she had a lavish wedding that my parents paid for, something they will never do. Since they would rather not disturb my sister's peace during such a difficult time in her life, my parents now want me to have a low-key wedding. My father even declined to walk me down the aisle because he wanted to be there for Kelly and suggested that we postpone the wedding. I couldn't believe what they were asking of me, and I still don't. They kept saying that I should keep my wedding a secret for Kelly's sake. I hung up without saying anything since I was at a loss for words and didn't want to upset her. I guess I should have known that my parents would always pick Kelly over me in the end. I couldn't believe my parents weren't there for me on what should have been the happiest day of my life. It's been a few days since I last spoke with my parents, have been phoning and texting me constantly to ask me to stop sending out wedding invitations to our family because they were afraid my sister would learn about it and they didn't want her to be upset. I finally lost it and called them back to let them know they weren't invited to my wedding and that I was sick of being their backup plan. I told my mother that they had done the bare minimum for me while constantly going above and beyond for Kelly, and that they never truly cared about me, and never will in the same way that they cared about Kelly. Needless to say, they did not take it well. My mother immediately started to list all the things they had done for me, reminding me that I owed them. I finally accepted it, telling them that no matter what, I was still going to send out invitations to our entire family in a few days, and there was nothing they could do or say to stop it. The argument then got out of hand, and my parents started criticizing me, saying that they were right to support Kelly because I was a waste of time and money. They even said that I should have been expelled from high school for attempting to steal Kelly's "That's the Story Kelly Told Them" boyfriend. They then threatened to spread the word about what a horrible person I was, accusing me of putting Kelly's wedding in her face. They assured me that they would do everything in their power to keep people from attending my wedding. Have I gone too far? Am I the bad guy for not inviting them? They reacted horribly, but they are still my parents. Update 1: I haven't spoken to my parents in a few days. This morning, I received a text from Kelly asking to meet. Since we haven't spoken in 3 years, I'm not sure what this means, and this is an unusual moment for her to reach out. I replied that I was very busy and couldn't see her, and that she could text me anything she needed to say. But she insisted. Although most people advised me not to, I couldn't help but go see her, and I'm glad I did because she has changed a lot. She began by apologizing to me, and I could tell she truly meant it because there were tears in her eyes. She said she sincerely apologized for what she had done to me and hoped she could accept it. In addition to having a deeper understanding of my parents, who apparently instilled in Kelly the belief that she needed to outperform me in every way if she wanted to be their favorite, it was surreal to hear those remarks from Kelly of all people. She clarified that this was not an apology for what she had done, but rather an explanation. I was devastated to learn that I had been blaming my sister for everything that had gone wrong between me and my parents when, in reality, it was the other way around. And it really did explain many things. My parents told her that the boy I was dating was too good for me and needed someone better like her, which is why she had initially pursued him. Self-worth, but also the possibility of a positive relationship between my sister and me. We ended up crying at the cafe, which was a little awkward but worthwhile. We hugged it out, and now she's a bridesmaid too. She was very appreciative because it would distract her from the divorce and everything else. I'm a married woman, and I know this update is long overdue. However, I've been so busy with the wedding that I didn't have time to publish. The wedding was everything Jonathan and I had hoped for, and I couldn't be happier. No, my parents weren't there, but they tried to spoil it by telling all of my relatives that I was a bad guy and that this marriage was a sham to bring down my sister. Luckily, I didn't have to defend myself because Kelly had, after clearing everything up, she wrote a lengthy post and shared it on social media for all of our family members to view. She explained how our parents were to blame for keeping us at odds with one another, which led to this nasty rivalry between us. Of course, our parents were upset, but they were limited to yelling at us on the phone because we had already severed our contact with them. As a result, our relatives did come to at our wedding. Many of them told us that we had made the right choice by cutting our parents out of our lives. Most of them have followed suit because what my parents did was truly wrong. Kelly and I are slowly reestablishing our friendship and making up for lost time, and Jonathan, who has supported me through everything, is also happy that I no longer speak to them because they never miss an opportunity to NTA. Your parents are crazy. I can't believe someone would put their girls through this. This was messed up. I feel bad for you and your sister. Basically, we're all better off now that we're not talking to my toxic parents, and I'm glad I chopped them off. They don't deserve me. Their parents don't deserve Kelly, and I'm finally happy. It's good that you avoided interaction, OP, and Kelly deserves better. I hope you and Jonathan are happy right now. Wow, that was something I remember from a friend whose parents were constantly pitting her and her brother against each other, to the point where they ended up removing their parents from their lives. This should serve as a warning to all toxic parents. Don't make your kids compete in NTA. I love cooking, but my wife always criticizes my food and eats frozen meals. When I stopped cooking, she became irate and manipulated me. I am 39, married to Jennifer, 37, for 8 years, have 2 kids and work. I should look into treatment to undo the damage that has been done for years. Good luck to you and Jonathan. Sending you tons of love. Full-time, and Jennifer is a wonderful mother, but she won't cook, which is okay because I love to cook. My father was a chef, and I spent years working as a line cook. Everyone enjoys my food, but Jennifer is always complaining that it's too salty, too peppery, or undercooked, and she never shows gratitude for the work I put in. Even worse, after complaining, she'll heat up some when I put her plate in front of her. Last Wednesday, she grimaced, took the smallest bite, then made a dramatic gagging sound, threw down her fork, and went to heat a microwave burrito. I was furious, but I kept my mouth shut in front of our children. The following day, I made terry bowls with broccoli. It was a disgusting microwave meal, similar to a Hot Pocket. I simply told Jennifer, "I'm done cooking for you," when she sat down expecting her plate. She was shocked and told me it was a waste of food and effort because she obviously dislikes my cooking. Jennifer was furious and said I should try harder, but I think she should just stick to her beloved microwave meals. Did I escalate things too much? February 27, 2025. I didn't expect to update, but things have escalated in ways I never thought possible. The tension in our home became unbearable after I refused to cook for Jennifer. At first, she thought I was bluffing, so she would sit at the dinner table waiting for her plate, only to discover that I had only made meals for myself and the kids. She would get up in a fury, slamming cabinets and muttering to herself as she prepared a depressing frozen meal for herself. Then the real game started, and Jennifer started acting passive. She even went so far as to tell my oldest son that I was being mean to her, saying that mommy doesn't get dinner because daddy decided he doesn't care about her anymore. That one made me furious, so I sat her down and told her to stop. I guess your dad doesn't love me enough to cook for me anymore. Or when I made a particularly delicious meal, wow, I wish I had a husband who actually cared about my tastes. Manipulating the children, but she pretended to be innocent and said, "I'm just telling them the truth," so I stopped eating. The following week, I saw her throw away a whole tray of food I had prepared for the children while they were in the adjacent room. When I confronted her, she shrugged and said, "Maybe you should have cooked it better." That was the turning point when I began to notice patterns I hadn't previously noticed. Jennifer was critical of everything I did, not just my cooking. When I walked a little pigeon-toed, a condition I've had since I was a child, she rolled her eyes and said, "Why don't you just walk normally?" She also wrinkled her nose in disgust every time I decorated my home office and hovered behind me to fix everything. This from a woman who wants to destroy a $1,500. I started keeping track of the criticisms because she believed that bleach was a universal stain remover. After a week, she had made over 50 negative remarks about my actions, so I finally sat down to speak with her. I told her that I was tired of her unrelenting negativity, that I couldn't continue living this way, and that she needed to show me basic respect. She laughed, not an awkward laugh, but a full mocking laugh. "Oh, please, you're so after a dramatic moment," she said. "If you were a better husband, maybe I wouldn't be so critical." I realized then that I no longer loved her. The resentment had been building for years, but that smirk and smug dismissal of all my worries was the last straw. I took the next few days to think about it, and the more I considered it, the more I realized that Jennifer had been tearing me down for years, and the cooking was just the most blatant example. 2 days later, after the kids had gone to sleep, I calmly told her that I wanted a divorce. She initially flipped, acting like I was kidding, and then she became upset. I told her that it wasn't just cooking, but everything, the constant manipulation, gaslighting, and belittling. I told her I didn't want to spend the rest of my life being cautious around my wife, but she went crazy and yelled that I was leaving her and that I was ruining our family because of stupid food. She called me selfish and accused me of being a bad father. Then, just to twist the knife, she grabbed the plate of dinner I had just prepared and threw it against the wall. I remained composed and told her that I had already spoken to a lawyer and that I wasn't. She tried to pretend that nothing had happened after I changed my mind that night, and she slept in the guest room the following day, but I remained firm and filed the paperwork the following week. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I know that I refuse to put up with another 10 years of being treated disrespectfully in my house. For the first time in years, I feel like I can finally breathe, and I won't be reading any more messages from the parody community that has been "It's not how I expected my life to unfold," but I finally feel like I'm making the right decision. For those who are wondering, yes, I will continue to prepare meals for my kids because at least someone in the house enjoys good food. I have too much to deal with, including child custody, asset division, and most importantly, preparing my kids for what's coming. Thank you to everyone who offered support. We appreciate you watching, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please click the bell notification to remain current with further startling true stories taking place all around you.